Hi, I'm Allison of HealthNutNation.com, and today I have an absolutely phenomenal recipe that I am going to share with you. It's called Bagel Bombs. Now, what is a bagel bomb? That's not something you hear of very regularly, right? Okay, so I have taken the standard American bagel and paired it with the typical spread, which is cream cheese, only we're going to use that spread as a filling for these little bites of deliciousness, which explode in your mouth with creaminess and this fabulous texture, and just, flavor is absolutely wonderful. You are going to love these delicious bagel bombs. Not only are they inexpensive to make, they are also pretty darn simple. Let's get started. Okay, so we've got a relatively simple list of ingredients. I've got organic white flour, organic white sugar, kosher salt, cinnamon and raisins, which if you want plain, just omit those, baking soda to add to the water for when we boil the bagels, yeast, cream cheese for the filling, avocado oil, you can use any oil that you're comfortable with, and warm water. Okay, let's make them. I like to use my KitchenAid mixer for this. You can do it by hand or use whatever mixer you have. Now, one little tip whenever you're baking is to weigh your flour. All you need is a little kitchen scale like this. You turn it on, and most good recipes will tell you how many grams or pounds you need, and then you stick your bowl on it and press tare, and that makes it so that it deducts the weight of the bowl before you put your flour in. And then you just simply dump it in until it gets to the right number. One of the things I really like about this recipe is that I don't have to proof the yeast or do anything special. I simply dump it in the bowl and mix it. It's so simple. There goes the yeast, sugar, salt, cinnamon, and the oil. So I'm just going to use my dough hook, and I'm going to start it on low, and I'm going to drizzle in 10 ounces of 110-degree water. Now, you want to do this slowly because you want to make sure not to get too much water in your dough. This is a really stiff dough. It's kind of surprising how stiff it is. You can see that the dough's still really ragged and way too dry. So I'm going to add up to about 2 ounces more of warm water. And I want it to stick together in a ball and to be climbing this hook here. Okay, I just want to stop. We're in the middle of that 7 minutes, and I want you to see just how stiff this dough is. It is a really dry, stiff dough. So don't be worried that it's too dry when you make it, because it really is kind of surprising. Okay, my dough has been kneading in the KitchenAid mixer for about 7 minutes, and I'm just going to take it out of that bowl. And you can see it's still a really clean dough. Now I'm just going to I'm going to knead this into a nice ball. And I don't need any flour on my surface because this is such a dry dough. You'll dry it out too much if you use flour. And you can see it's coming to this nice little ball of beautifulness. And I'm going to put that back in my bowl, cover it with plastic wrap, and leave it to rise for about 15 minutes. Okay, so I've added my baking soda to a 6-quart pot, and I'm going to let it boil. My dough's been resting for about 15 minutes, so I'm going to pull it out and let's shape it into the little bagel bombs. Again, you do not need a floured surface because this dough is nice and dry. So I like to use this little pastry cutter that I have for all my doughs, and I also weigh this. I figure that I'm going to get about 48 little bombs out of this, so I cut it into quarters, weigh those, and then go from there as far as figuring out the weight that each one of them should be. All right, mine are weighing in at about 22, 23 grams, and you can make yours as big or as small as you want. Just keep in mind that you'll need some space for a cavity in which to fill it with the wonderful cream cheese. So the way I shape these is I kind of stick my finger in the middle of the bottom and pull the dough down and around that little hole or kind of cavity that I'm making. And pinch it down below. Now, as you can see with each of these, I have one side that's pretty and one side where this is where I'm going to put the cream cheese that really isn't pretty. You can also roll them like this, but because the dough is so stiff, it never really smooths out unless you do that kind of pinching and pulling motion. I've got 40 bagel bombs here, so one recipe at 22 grams each, made about 40. I'm going to boil them for 1 minute each. Now typically when you make bagels, you flip them at the 30-second mark, so I kind of try and turn mine a little bit at the 30-second mark, but it's hard to gauge with a whole bunch of balls in there. And then I'm going to move them to a rack to just dry for a few minutes until I get them all boiled. Then I'll put them back on the cookie sheet and bake them at 425 for about 8 to 10 minutes. While my bagel bombs are cooling, I'm going to whip up the cream cheese to soften it so that I can get it through my pastry bag to fill the bagel bombs. All right, my cream cheese has been whipped and I'm filling my pastry bag here. Now, I have this scalloped tip on it just because I want it to be kind of a wider tip and to be able to send more of the cream cheese out. Because when I use this tip, which seems like it would be a great idea since it's nice and long, it just wasn't wide enough to get enough cream cheese in. I still use this tip to make the hole, and then I fill it with this tip. So let me show you how to do that. If you like this recipe, I've got plenty more. Check out my other videos. Make sure you subscribe. Go over to healthnutnation.com. There's a link below for the written recipe. Okay, let's see how these bagel bombs turned out. Oh, yummy. Okay, make sure we're focused in so we can see. Oh my gosh, look at that. Yummy. Oh, cream cheese. Little bit in every bite. Oh, you've got to make these. To your health.